Hi, and welcome to another episode of Casual Learning. I'm your host, John Bannan. What's the deal with time travel? A lot of people simply assume that time travel is possible and that someday in the future we'll be able to do that. Where do they get this idea, science fiction movies. Hollywood gives it to them. It's an appealing concept. It creates great storylines. Sure, people love to go back in the past and change some mistakes they made, or go off into the future and see what advances have occurred, and what exciting things lie ahead for themselves and humanity. It's a very attractive notion, but it's also impossible. So, sorry to break it to you, but time travel is impossible. Can't be done. It's impossible. Now, there's good reasons why it's impossible. What is real in a material sense? The present moment is real. So we have the present moment. And everything that's contained in the material present moment. Mass, energy, space-time. So, if you want to go back in time, or you want to go into the future, where do you go? I mean, in order to go into the past or into the future, you actually need to go to a real place, someplace real. You can't travel to someplace in a material sense. That doesn't exist. That isn't real. So, the number one problem with time travel is the past and the future don't exist. They're not real. You can't travel someplace that doesn't exist. Time travel is impossible. Now, our present memories of the past are real. We remember the past. But the past itself is no longer real. I mean, the past was the present, but in a different form. The present is constantly changing. And it changed, created the present, but it's what it used to be was the past. So the past is essentially still here with us in the present. It's just that the form has changed. The mass and energy and the laws of physics have changed what was here to something else, and then we call that the present. But there is no place to go. That's called the past. There's no physical reality. That's the past. So you can't travel into the past because there's nowhere to go. It's possible to go somewhere that doesn't exist. And same thing with the future. What's the future? The future is going to be the present changed over time. But it's still going to be the present at that point in the future. But at this present, there is no future place that you can travel to that exists. Doesn't exist. Because the here and now, is going to be the future, but as it changes, and it changes at its own rate, and you don't have control over the universe changing. The laws of physics do. You can't change the laws of physics. God could, but you can't. So there's nowhere to go. So you can't travel in the future either. It's impossible. God wanted to change the present and modify the laws of physics or reset everything into some place in the past or in the future. God can do that. But God is in charge the creation of material reality. So God could do those sorts of things, but the laws of physics here, as manipulated by human beings, laws of physics aren't changing. We can't change the laws of physics. We can't do that. We can't change the present to seem like the past or seem like a future. We're stuck here as it changes. That's it. There's nowhere else to go. So time travel is impossible. Uh, a, a second reason that time travel is impossible is that it creates paradoxes. And paradoxes are situations that are logically impossible. Uh, so they're impossible. So, for instance, let's say you're here in the present and you're you're a member of the NRA and you own a gun. You got a gun. And you decide, I'm going to travel into the past. So you go back into the past and you meet up with your own grandfather. And you show him your gun. And you tell him you're interested in paradoxes. And if he would participate in your experiment. And he thinks, oh, okay, sure. And then you shoot him dead. You kill your own grandfather. Wow, that's a tough experiment to be in, but you did it, all right? So, Grandpa, you shot him down dead. And you shot him and killed him before he had a son who was your father. So, because your father in the future can no longer exist because his father's dead, then that means you can't exist either. Because you shot your own grandfather. So you've created a paradox. Here you are in the past, you existed, but you destroyed the cause for your existence, so that the future will no longer cause you to exist. So you created a paradox. How can you exist in the past if you destroyed your own cause? You shot your grandfather before he had the son who turned into your father. The answer is it's impossible. You can't go back in time and kill your grandfather and destroy your own cause, because then you would exist. But you can't exist. It's a paradox. You were never caused. How can you exist if you don't have a cause? That's another reason, paradoxes, that time travel is impossible. Now, you can look at yourself as essentially a bundle of information. You're built a certain way, and the molecules and atoms are arranged a certain way, and that's information. The way it's arranged, how it's arranged, that's information. It's unique information about you. So you can look at yourself as information. So a third reason that time travel is impossible is you take this information, and you go back into the past, and now you've introduced future information into the past. But you shot your grandfather, and you destroyed your own cause. So you've destroyed the cause of that information in the future. So this information that is you transported into the past no longer has a cause because you killed your grandfather. So the future will not create this information here. So the problem is, where Where did this information come from? Right? It didn't come from the future because you destroyed the cause of that information. The information will never arise. So, where did it come from? And this creates a problem. It's a violation of a basic rule of philosophy, which is you can't get something from nothing. That makes total obvious sense. Nothing has nothing to give, therefore you can't get anything from it. You can't get something from nothing. So you got information here existing in the past that has no cause, but the information is there nonetheless. So where did it come from? It came from nothing. Nothing. Well, it's impossible, because you can't get something from nothing. It's impossible. It's impossible for that information to exist. So time travel is not possible. Again, with God, it's a little different because God could actually reset the laws of physics or reset the universe and put this information there, even in these sorts of circumstances. But in that case, the information is coming from God, the uncaused, immaterial creator of material reality. He has power to create material reality. So he could do this. So in this case, the information, it's not a paradox, it comes from God. But unless God is willing to send you back in time, and God doesn't do that, at least I've never heard of any incident where God did that. So unless God is willing to send you back in time, it's impossible. It can't be done. It creates paradoxes, it creates information in the past with no cause. Something from nothing is a violation of basic philosophy. And more importantly, the past doesn't exist. You can't travel to someplace that doesn't exist. Future doesn't exist. There's nowhere to travel to. You can't go there. So, time travel is impossible. It's an impossibility. It's it's an attractive notion and makes very entertaining movies, and Hollywood loves time travel stories. And who doesn't like a time travel story, really? But I have to break it to you. It's not possible. It's impossible. There's no physical way you can do it. Laws of physics just don't allow it. And you can't change the laws of physics, so it can't be done. Sorry, Doctor Who fans, but Time Lords, pure fantasy. You can't actually have time travel like that. It's a fantasy. Okay. That's all I have to say about time travel. It's impossible. If you have any questions or comments, please put them below. Maybe I'll address them in a future video, or I'll reply to them below. And please press the subscribe button. Take care, disappointed time travelers.